Hello YouTube, back once again with my film reviews, and tonight I saw the new independent movie Room, not to be confused with The Room by Tommy Wiseau. Now, this is the movie Room starring Brie Larson, and, okay, let's talk about the concept of this movie. Stay with me on this when it gets really dark really fast. Concept of this movie is it's about a woman named Joy that when she was 17, played by Brie Larson, when she was 17, she was abducted by a man you only ever know as Old Nick, played by Sean Bridges, who abducted her, locked her in his woodshed, and has kept her there for the past 7 years of her life. It's 7 years later. She has a 5-year-old son named Jack, played by Jacob Tremblay, and trying to protect her son from what a horrible situation they're in. She tells him that lets him believe that the entire world and everything is just this one room and nothing else. But when the two of them finally eventually escape the room, they start to realize that even though this is everything Brie Larson has ever hoped for herself and her son, she starts wondering if if they truly can even fit into the world anymore or have a place in it. So that's the concept of this movie. Let's get into the good and bad of this. Okay, one, Brie Larson as Joy as the lead. She is freaking tastic, Brie Larson, this movie. Just the amount of emotions this woman has to convey from beginning to end in this movie. She has to go from caring to heartbroken to concerned to terrified to just being a mentally damaged human being to actually being legitimately happy. She is just amazing. I can't think of another actor this year who had to give such a range of emotions. That and the fact just how much how moving is just how much she always cares about her son from beginning to end is such a moving performance in this film. I'll say that she showed post-traumatic stress way better, I thought, than Bradley Cooper did in last year's American Sniper, and she gets you through the first half of this movie, Brie Larson, because if it wasn't for her, this could have so easily been so too dark to watch, just unwatchably dark and disgusting and unpleasant. But she gets you through such a terrible situation. Just her ability is never to be fully broken and always hoping to escape. Just she and determination to get out of the room. She gets you through this first half of this movie. So Brie Larson, this is probably my favorite performance of the year so far. I can't think of another performance I like more. So there's that. There was that Jacob Tremblay as our 5-year-old son Jack. Well, you're always running the risk if you get a kid to act. Can they act? And the answer is yes. This kid can act. He was always convincing in this movie. He always felt like a real kid in all those situations they were in, no matter what the situation was. And he was always able to go. And I love the fact that during the second half of the movie, when they finally escaped the room, he was able to go from awed to terrified. Just for the fact that first he is awed by the fact there is the entire world outside of the room, but then he is terrified by the fact, wait, there's an entire world outside the room I have lived my entire life. And so Jacob Tremblay as the boy Jack was just fantastic. So there was that. There was great supporting work in this movie. Sean Harris as Old Nick. My God, was this man terrifying in this movie. I was scared shitless by him. This is one of the most disturbing performances I think I've ever seen in my life. And it's more than something it's different from something like Hannibal Lecter. Because Hannibal Lecter, he is a terrifying villain, but he's such an elegantly terrifying villain. So out there and almost so unreal that you can enjoy watching Hannibal Lecter, but because you always feel like, well, there isn't a real Hannibal Lecter out there. This guy, though, he feels real. He feels like there are these such terrifying and disgusting people out there, and he was just terrifying from beginning to end in this movie. So one of the best, most effective villain performances I've ever seen. But I could help but feel this movie they may have wanted Michael Fassbender for this role because that he does they do make him look a lot like Michael Fassbender, and he did kind of come out kind of Fassbender-ish in some of the scenes, but I don't know, that's just me. I may just think that because the director made Frank last year that starred Michael Fassbender. Oh, that's great, and that's great indie if you haven't seen it, but yet, by the way. But that's besides the point. So Sean Bridges as Old Nick was one of the most horrifying performances I've ever seen in my life. Tom McCamus as Brie Larson's stepdad. This was one of the warmest performances I've ever seen in my life. Anytime he was on this screen, I was always felt so much warmer and happier for the fact he was there, and always felt so much more just optimistic about life, and felt like the feeling that somebody cared about this kid and these characters. So Tom McCamus as the stepdad, just it's up there with Ed Norton from Moonrise Kingdom. Just such a legitimately, it feels an honest feeling, warm performance I've ever seen in my life. So wonderful job there, and there was also great work from Joanne Allen and William H. Macy. So all the acting in this movie was fantastic, so that was great. The cinematography in this movie is also great, wonderful. Great use of different things. One, the POV shots are great, especially during the escape scene. They use a lot of POVs there, and that was wonderful. All the shots and that. I also love the fact that it kept switching from how Brie Larson sees the world to how Jacob Tremblay sees the world, because to Brie Larson, like, this room is a prison to her. To Jacob Tremblay, this is all he's ever known, is this room, and to him, he just thinks like he's actually like somewhat happy like in this room, because he just doesn't know what it is, and he doesn't know that there's other things out there. So I love the cinematography, how it worked. Soundtrack of this movie was great. Some music was used very sparingly in this movie, and I think that was for the best. Because anytime it was used, all the songs were perfect for the scenes, and they did make you feel the emotions of what was going on of that scene. That, and it has the song "The Big Rock Candy Mountain," and I love that song. I'm always happy when that shows up. I always get bonus points of soundtrack if they include "The Big Rock Candy Mountain" in my book. So that was great. The script was of how this kid sees the world. Views the world was such an interesting idea, and it's used to full use here. That I love the fact that this kid, he thinks the room is the entire world at first. That was also always really interesting. He thinks everything in the room is all there is to the world. That he refused to. I love the fact that when he gets out and finally escapes the room, he still refers to the room as room, but he refers to the rest of the world as place, which I found incredibly interesting. I love the fact that he has trouble talking to anyone that isn't Brie Larson at first when he first escapes, because he just doesn't. He just, like, the idea that there are more people in this world, like, it just kind of terrify him. The fact that there is someone besides Brie Larson in the world, so that was wonderful. And this was an incredibly moving movie from beginning to end. The strange thing about how moving this movie was, I wasn't even aware I was being moved while watching it. Like, when I was watching, like, the first half of this movie, the first half when they're in the room, my thing with it was, I was just thinking, wow, this is a great movie, fantastically performed, fantastically written, but I wasn't feeling particularly moved. I just thought, okay, this is just a great movie right here. But then we hit the escape scene to this movie, and just everything in this scene, when they escape, when, like, this kid first, like, looks up to the sky for the first time and sees that there is an entire world outside the room, and just the awe and wonder in his eye, was the awe and wonder in his eye when he jumps out of the truck and runs to a random stranger, who then, when the guy Nick, like, old Nick tries to get at him, and then, like, the guy just, like, stops him and just says, like, I am going to call the cops on you. And then, like, when the cops, like, are, like, take the kid and, like, start asking him and, like, start, like, putting together, like, where this kid's from, and, like, finds a way to, like, find Brie Larson, and just when Brie Larson and the kid are just reunited, I did not realize this until then. Keep it on, this is, like, the 15-minute sequence, like, from the moment it started to the moment it ended, I want to cry the entire time. I felt like I had to cry watching it, and I wasn't even aware of how moved I was. But then it kind of hit me why. It's because this movie starts in such an intense situation, and you're never out of that intense situation. You're always in the room, so you're always you never have the feelings of such feelings as safety or hope or the ideas that there are good people in this world besides Brie Larson. When you just see all these things, when you just see the wonder in this kid's eye when he sees that there's a world out there, when you see the kindness of this man who like protects him from like the evil guy, and like how the cops try to rescue them, and you finally feel just the safety when he's with the cops and Brie Larson is there and everyone's safe. All these emotions, you realize you were starved for these emotions. You weren't allowed to feel such nice, simple emotions we take for granted. That when they were finally thrown to you and well, thrown to these characters, I did want to cry just knowing that like feeling these emotions again. It did feel that powerful and moving. So. This was one of the most moving movies I've ever seen in my life, and I wasn't even aware for it during the first half. So that's something to be said about this movie. I can't think of a movie that ever made me feel that way because I've seen movies that move me so much, but I've never been unaware when they moved me before this movie. So that was great. So there's that, and I love the ending to this film. I won't say what it is, but it was such a nice button just way to close the movie out. It felt so appropriate. It's such a great way to close. It's such a nice scene. It's such a great way to close it. And this was for bad of this movie. I know this is where the large split is coming from for this movie, and is the second half of this movie when they're out of the room. That in second half, well, here's the thing. A lot like how this movie moved me, how I was unaware. At first I was thought watching the second half, I was like, God, this is really boring compared to the first half. I'm really not enjoying that much. But then when the movies, well, I was still liking it. It was still great, but I wasn't liking it nearly as much. But then when the movie started to roll, it's wrapping. Oh, I started realizing the movie was wrapping up and the credits were about to start rolling. I always realized I didn't want this movie to end. I realized I'm so interested seeing how these two like integrate themselves back to the world, and once again, like, I can't remember a movie. I just thought I'm bored right now, but then when it was ending, I was like, wait, no, it's ending, don't end. So I've never felt this way watching a movie before. So God, and so final rating for Room. I'm giving Room. I can't think of a bad thing to say about this movie. I'm giving Room a perfect 5 out of 5. One of the best movies of the year. I'm not. It may be the best movie I've seen this year. Just all I can say is, even if this concept turns you off because it is such a dark concept, try to bear through it and know that there's hope in this movie. This movie does give hope. This movie is all a big foundation of this movie is the idea of hope, and like that they're the world. They're not the entire. The world's not everyone. The world is is so horrible. So yeah, I implore you, if you do not, even if this concept turn you off, go see this movie. This is truly fantastic. And all I can say for a side note, I will say this, and I will say this: this movie was scarier than any horror movie I've seen this year. It was scarier than Unfriended, The Gift. I really liked Unfriended and The Gift. And even It Follows, which I thought was a really scary movie. It Follows. This movie scared me more than those movies. So if you want to see a scary movie this Halloween season, I'd say go see this and go tell Paranormal Activity, the Ghost Dimension, go screw itself. So wow, this was fan freaking tastic. YouTube, as always, please subscribe and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.